Johnny had always been an adventurous person. He loved exploring new places and meeting new people. So when he stumbled upon an opportunity to stay at an unusual Airbnb listing, he couldn't resist. The listing described an old, secluded cottage located deep within a dense forest. The photos showcased a rustic charm that instantly intrigued Johnny. Little did he know that this decision would lead him down a path filled with mystery and suspense. As Johnny arrived at the cottage, he marveled at its beauty. It was nestled amidst towering trees, surrounded by an air of serenity. The host, a middle-aged woman named Mrs. Blackwood, greeted him with a warm smile. She handed Johnny the keys and bid him farewell, leaving him alone in the tranquil wilderness. Once inside, Johnny's excitement quickly turned into unease. The cottage had an eerie ambience, with creaking floorboards and flickering lights. He shook off the feeling, attributing it to the age of the place. Determined to make the most of his stay, Johnny unpacked and settled in. Night fell, casting a shadow over the forest. Johnny found it increasingly difficult to sleep. Every creak, every rustle of leaves outside seemed magnified, sending shivers down his spine. Just as he was about to drift off, a faint whisper tickled his ears. It was barely audible, but Johnny's instincts told him he wasn't alone. Curiosity overpowered his fear, and Johnny decided to investigate. He followed the sound, leading him to a hidden trapdoor beneath a worn-out rug. Heart pounding, he opened it, revealing a narrow staircase descending into darkness. Ignoring the voice of reason that urged him to turn back, Johnny ventured into the unknown. The stairs seemed to go on forever, the musty smell growing stronger with each step. Finally, he reached the bottom and found himself in a dimly lit cellar. The room was filled with old furniture covered in dust, and in the corner stood an ancient-looking chest. Johnny's curiosity piqued once again, and he approached the chest cautiously. As he opened it, a gust of cold wind rushed out, extinguishing the lone candle that illuminated the room. Panic set in, but before he could react, the cellar door slammed shut. Johnny was engulfed in darkness, with no escape in sight. He felt a presence in the room, something sinister and malevolent. Suddenly, a faint glow emanated from the chest. Johnny's eyes widened as he saw a collection of aged photographs. Each one depicted a different person, all with a haunting resemblance to himself. Trembling, he realized that he had stumbled upon something beyond his comprehension, a connection to a dark and forgotten past. Johnny's hands shook as he studied the photographs, desperately searching for answers. How could these people resemble him so closely? Was there a hidden secret connecting their lives to his? Fear gnawed at his insides as he realized the truth. He was not just an innocent guest in this eerie cottage. He was a part of something much deeper and darker. Driven by a mix of terror and curiosity, Johnny embarked on a quest to uncover the truth behind the mysterious photographs and his uncanny connection to them. He scoured the internet, visited local libraries, and interviewed the few remaining residents of the nearby village. Slowly, the pieces started to come together. Johnny discovered that the cottage had a dark history, shrouded in secrets. It was once owned by the Blackwood family, who were known for their involvement in occult practices and strange rituals. The family's connection to the supernatural was believed to have cursed their bloodline, leading to their tragic demise. As Johnny delved deeper into the past, he uncovered a series of unexplained disappearances and unsolved murders that had plagued the area for decades. The victims bore a striking resemblance to him and the people in the photographs. The realization sent chills down his spine. His life was in danger. Haunted by the ghosts of the past, Johnny became increasingly paranoid. He'd noticed strange figures lurking in the shadows, following his every move. He received anonymous messages warning him to leave, to abandon his pursuit of the truth. But he couldn't let go. He was determined to break the curse and put an end to the cycle of darkness. One stormy night, as the wind howled through the trees, Johnny made a fateful decision. Armed with the knowledge he had acquired, he confronted Mrs. Blackwood, the enigmatic host who held the key to his haunting journey. The confrontation was tense, filled with accusations and desperate pleas for answers. Mrs. Blackwood's face contorted with a mixture of guilt and sorrow. She confessed to being the last surviving member of the Blackwood bloodline, burdened by the curse that had plagued her family for generations. She revealed that the cottage was a conduit for dark forces, drawing unsuspecting souls to their doom. With the truth laid bare, Johnny understood that his connection to the past was no coincidence. He was meant to break the cycle, to free the spirits trapped within the cottage's cursed walls. Together, he and Mrs. Blackwood embarked on a perilous journey to unravel the ancient rituals and find a way to lift the curse. Their path was treacherous, fraught with supernatural obstacles and relentless malevolence. But Johnny's determination and Mrs. Blackwood's knowledge guided them through the darkness. With each step, they unraveled the mysteries of the Blackwood family, ultimately leading them to a hidden chamber beneath the cottage. In the chamber, they discovered a sacred altar where the cursed rituals were performed. Armed with ancient relics and incantations, Johnny and Mrs. Blackwood fought against the forces that sought to claim their lives. The battle was fierce, but in the end, they triumphed, banishing the dark energy from the cottage once and for all. As the cursed aura lifted, Johnny felt a weight lifted from his soul. The cottage regained its tranquility, and the forest reclaimed its peaceful serenity. Mrs. Blackwood, finally freed from the burden of her family's legacy, bid farewell to Johnny, knowing that the curse had been broken. Johnny left the cottage a changed man, forever marked by his harrowing experience. The photographs and the horrors they represented would forever haunt his memories. But he emerged with a newfound appreciation for the fragility of life and the power of human resilience. Though the tale of the haunted Erem would be etched in his mind, Johnny ventured forth, embracing new adventures and cherishing each moment. The shadows of the past would always linger, but he was determined to forge his own path, untethered by the darkness that had once consumed him. And so, the story of Johnny's Erem experience became a cautionary tale, a whispered legend passed down through generations, reminding those who sought adventure to tread carefully in the realms of the unknown. Claire loved exploring new places and immersing herself in the local culture. When she planned a trip to a small coastal town, she decided to book an Erem to experience a more authentic stay. Little did she know that her decision would lead her down a path filled with mystery and intrigue. As Claire arrived at the address provided by the Erem host, she couldn't help but feel a sense of unease. The house, though charming on the outside, had an eerie aura surrounding it. Ignoring her instincts, she entered and found herself in a dimly lit living room adorned with antique furniture. The atmosphere was heavy, and Claire felt an inexplicable chill run down her spine. She shrugged off her unease and convinced herself that it was just her imagination playing tricks. After settling in, Claire decided to explore the town. She spent her days wandering through narrow streets, taking photographs, and getting to know the locals. However, each night when she returned to the Erem, a feeling of dread would wash over her. One evening, while preparing dinner in the kitchen, Claire noticed an old photo album on a dusty shelf. Curiosity piqued. She opened it and found a collection of photographs dating back several decades. As she flipped through the pages, she stumbled upon a picture of a woman who bore an uncanny resemblance to herself. The resemblance was too striking to be a coincidence. Claire's mind raced with questions. Who was this woman? What was her connection to the house? Determined to uncover the truth, she decided to dig deeper into the history of the Erem. Claire began researching the town's archives, scouring old newspapers, and talking to longtime residents. Slowly, she uncovered a chilling story. The house had once belonged to a woman named Margaret, who had mysteriously disappeared without a trace in the 1950s. The circumstances surrounding her disappearance were shrouded in secrecy, and the case remained unsolved. As Claire delved further into the mystery, she discovered that Margaret had been an eccentric artist known for her dark and macabre paintings, Rumors circulated that she had been involved in occult practices and had an obsession with capturing the souls of her subjects on canvas. These rumors had always been dismissed as mere speculation, but Claire couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to the story. Haunted by the resemblance between herself and Margaret, Claire couldn't ignore the growing sense of danger. She couldn't escape the feeling that she was being watched, and strange occurrences began to happen in the house. Objects would move on their own, eerie whispers would echo through the corridors, and a sense of malevolence hung in the air. With each passing day, Claire's fear intensified, and she realized she needed to find answers before it was too late. She reached out to a local historian who had extensive knowledge of the town's history. They agreed to meet and discuss Claire's findings. As Claire sat across from the historian, she recounted her experiences and presented the evidence she had gathered. The historian listened intently, his face growing increasingly grave. He revealed a shocking revelation. Margaret had a dark secret that had been carefully hidden from the world. The historian took a deep breath before sharing the disturbing truth with Claire. Margaret, the previous owner of the urn, had indeed been involved in occult practices. She had been part of a clandestine group that conducted dark rituals within the very walls of the house. The rituals were intended to tap into the energy of unsuspecting guests who stayed in the urn. Margaret and her accomplices believed that by capturing the souls of these individuals, they could gain immortality and unlock unimaginable power. It was rumored that the souls of the captured victims were trapped within the paintings Margaret created, forever bound to her twisted artistic creations. As Claire absorbed this shocking revelation, she realized the connection between Margaret's disappearance and her own uncanny resemblance. The previous guests of the urn had unknowingly become victims of these sinister rituals. Margaret had captured their souls, and now Claire's life was in grave danger. Determined to break the cycle and free herself from this malevolent presence, Claire enlisted the help of the historian. They devised a plan to confront the dark forces lurking within the house. Armed with ancient incantations and protective charms, they set out to disrupt the ritual and release the trapped souls. On a moonlit night, Claire and the historian gathered within the urn. The air was thick with anticipation as they began reciting the incantations, calling upon higher powers to aid them in their mission. The house seemed to come alive, the shadows dancing with sinister energy. Suddenly, a surge of supernatural energy coursed through the room, causing the walls to tremble and the air to crackle. Claire and the historian fought against the dark forces, their voices determined and unwavering. As they reached the peak of their incantations, a blinding light engulfed the house, forcing the malevolent presence to retreat. When the light subsided, silence filled the room. Claire looked around cautiously, her heart pounding in her chest. The house felt different, cleansed of the darkness that had plagued it for so long. The trapped souls had been released, finding peace at last. Relieved yet exhausted, Claire and the historian stepped outside into the cool night air. They exchanged a solemn nod, acknowledging the role they had played in uncovering the truth and putting an end to the haunting of the urn. Claire knew that her journey had been perilous, but she had emerged stronger and wiser from the experience. As she bid farewell to the coastal town, Claire reflected on the events that had unfolded. She realized that sometimes the most alluring adventures could hide the darkest secrets. From that day forward, she approached her travels with a newfound caution, always mindful of the unseen dangers that could lurk beneath the surface. And as for the house, it stood as a silent witness to the horrors that had taken place within its walls. It was eventually sold to an unknowing family, unaware of its haunted past. The memories of Margaret's dark legacy, however, remained forever etched in the town's history.